Please be advised that this episode contains depictions of domestic violence.
Brazen.
They came to me with their eyes open. They weren't blind, They all knew I was, I had multiple wives and partners, and I was a kind of a playboy, and, they all knew it. It wasn't like, oh, I'm innocent. I was this, Virgin Mary from the convent or something.
In his own telling, Leonard is a likable rogue who has sex with a lot of women, but wears it on his sleeve. They know what he's about. No one gets hurt. It's all good sailor fun.
Females out there like dropping like flies. I push everybody away because that comes with problems, right? Unless, you're a good guy like you, get married and you stay with your wife for a long, long time. I mean, I've had like multiple partners, wives. Not that I'm a bad husband. It's just that women can't keep up with me.
His first wife, mother to his first two children.
First wife was just too lazy for me.
The second, the Indonesian catwalk model.
That one was messing around with me and saying that I was, she got it so bad for me. She said I was impotent and it was me that's why I couldn't have kids. I go, BS. There's no way. She was on birth control and just trying to keep her figure,
And then I met Morena De Jesus. All right, so can you just start by telling me your name and what you do?
I am Morena De Jesus. I'm here in Australia as a student visa, and I work part-time in a nursing home and a cleaner.
Morena was the mother to Leonard's third and fourth children, and her story will break your heart.
You always threaten me, you don't know me. You know what happened in Manila? There's a popular politician there who killed his wife. I can do that to you, he told me. I have a lot of connections with everyone, so I can kill you anytime I want.
I'm Tom Wright, and this is Fat Leonard, a podcast from Project Brazen.
Singapore, 2004.
Just go back to when you first met Leonard Glenn Francis and tell me a little bit about that.
When I first met him in Singapore, I was a trainee as an HRM, hotel restaurant and management, for 6 months. And they are the guests in Amara Hotel.
Leonard walked into the Amara Hotel in Singapore. He was comfortable there. It was luxurious, but also quiet, a little outside the central business district, and he was less likely to bump into anyone he knew. Leonard liked to meet corrupt Navy supply officials here, and he used the dark bar to hand over envelopes full of cash to ensure he won contracts. He spent so much time in the hotel, he'd gotten friendly with Morena De Jesus, a receptionist at the Amara. The 23-year-old was doing a short job training as part of her college studies in the Philippines. She was smart and driven, with shoulder-length dark hair and a wide smile. She came from a poor family in a rural area north of Manila, and Leonard, aged 40 at the time, seemed so worldly, arriving at the hotel in chauffeured Rolls-Royces, staff running to his every whim. He also seemed pious, an attraction to Morena, who, like many Filipinas, is a practicing Catholic.
When I first met him, he's good. He's a big man, and he always bring what we call this wine. If you are familiar with the Rosary and Mama Mary.
Leonard's mother was descended from Portuguese mariners who had landed in Asia, bringing the faith with them. And she had brought her son up as a Catholic. He carried the rosary beads with him at all times.
Oh, yeah. I'm a deep practicing Catholic. Grew up around it. My grandparents, my parents, church. I mean, you see God around me. Crucifix all over my house. From the time I'm young, I carry my rosary. I carry my Bible. I can be foul, but the heart is God. Same with my kids. You find holy water around me, I'm just like that.
Leonard took a liking to Morena and invited her to church one Sunday. Alone in a foreign country, asked to church by an intriguing older man, Morena accepted.
So I think this guy is a good guy,
He began to court Morena. Leonard told her about his 2 children, both over 10 years old, with his first wife, also a Filipina. But he didn't mention he was remarried to the Indonesian model.
He courted me and I refused because he has already 2 sons. And of course, I'm not looking for a for a boyfriend that time.
After her training was over, Morena returned to the Philippines. But Leonard kept calling and texting her. He offered to pay for her to fly to Hong Kong to meet him. She was unsure, but eventually accepted. Morena's father was a poor farmer, and she never expected to be able to travel the world. It must have been quite exciting for you at the beginning when you first met him, right?
Yes.
He can be a charming guy as well.
Yeah, of course. Actually, when I first met him, he's generous, He sent me money, and then he said he promised me, I will help you. Of course, I will help you and your family. We will be together.
He put her up in a luxury apartment in Manila, and although he was a transitory presence in her life, coming into the country now and again for business, she had fun. In 2007, she gave birth to their first child, a baby boy, and within a year, a baby girl. Was he very happy? Did he come to the hospital?
No, my first son, he didn't visit me at the hospital. I gave birth by my own.
Who was with you when you gave birth?
My parents, my sisters, my family.
Having a child out of wedlock was stigmatized in the Philippines, and Morena started to pressure Leonard to get married. What did your parents think about the fact the father was not around when you were giving birth? Did they have questions about him?
We have a plan that we're going to marry. So, how can I do? I cannot force someone. So, I have to wait.
For all his womanizing and his happy-go-lucky posturing about sex, Leonard harbored deep insecurities. For Morena, Leonard's father, with his multiple mistresses and violence towards Leonard's mother, had left the son with deep psychological scars. So, do you feel like he was very paranoid about the women that he was with cheating on him?
Maybe. Yes. Because, he has history about his father. And his father is about, how do you call it, Tom? Philandering?
Yeah, his father was a philanderer.
Penang, Malaysia, 1979.
Michael Francis, with gelled back hair, a bulbous nose, and uneven teeth, grabbed Leonard's mother and smacked her across the face. She screamed and cowered as Michael kept on lashing out. Who knows what drives a man to hit a woman? But Michael, then 42, felt insecure. A poor man's son married into wealth. His own father, a rubber plantation worker from Scotland, his mother a local. His marriage into the wealthy Portuguese Sri Lankan family of Leonard's mother left him feeling never quite good enough. But he enjoyed his new riches and the women that it brought. Michael was cruel. He'd bring his mistresses back to the family home in front of his wife and children. His wife would complain, and Michael would batter her. For years, Leonard had to endure the violence, as small children always do. Michael beat him too, along with his brothers and sisters. But by the age of 15, Leonard was already 6 foot tall, with Elvis-style mutton chops, a young man, not a boy, and ready to challenge his father. He was in a biker gang, hung out with triads, and had seen enough of the blows raining down on his mother. That evening, Leonard grabbed his father and pulled him off her.
I pushed him, on the bed and set him down, and that was it. And he was shocked because the first time in his life, someone challenged him. But I just could not see, the years of his abuse on my mother. I just could not hold that in anymore, You ever touch my mother again, I said, I'll kill you.
Leonard's father, scrawny compared to his lumbering son, was taken aback. He never laid hands on her again.
I've seen him batter my mother so many times, and it was just not right. And my mother was just, like any wife's definitely going to be jealous. You're going to bring another woman to the house, your maternal home, your kids and everything, and your wife being there. How could you? My dad didn't care.
And he would beat her until she was sort of, black-eyed?
Oh, he'll just lock her up in the bathroom or in another room. He'll just go into the other room with his little mistress and just do his job or whatever.
And then he would beat her so that she was actually broken bones? Or
Yeah, to submissive, to just shut up and be quiet.
But did she have to go to the hospital?
My dad was...
that kind of beating?
No, it's just bruises and stuff like that. It was just... Coward, hits wives,
His mother tried to take her own life.
Well, basically she's trying to cut her wrist, swallow pills to OD, and my dad used to rush her to the hospital because my dad was always going out every day. And then he used to, go to the clubs.
When his mother, brother, and sister went to live in England, Leonard had opted to stick with his father, despite the violence. I asked him why.
Yeah, well, I always have this principle of, you have one mom and one dad. Whether they're good or bad, you still need to respect them. That's in the Bible,
After that happening, were you ever able to resurrect your relationship with him? Were you in the position of power after that?
Yeah, my dad always loved me. I was my dad's favorite, no matter what. My dad knows he's wrong. I still took care of my father, no matter what.
Michael died in April, aged 84, during the making of this podcast. Leonard was crumpled by grief, and we didn't talk for a month. Under house arrest, he could only witness his father's death through the screen of a computer.
So that really took us, in a very hard way. Just seeing your father die in front of you and he's struggling to breathe with his oxygen mask. You could see that. You can see his eyes, his tears. Oh, my God. My dad was always like, this lion. And you could see the fear in his face to die. The life was just coming out of him and he was calling his mother's name. I don't cry, I don't shed tears. I always kind of stay very stoic in my facial expressions in front of everybody,
Mm.
And I was tearing in my eyes, but, not in front of my kids. But my kids were all breaking down, so I had to hold the family together,
What makes a person? It's hard to know, even as we look inwards to find explanations for our own behavior. But as we peel away the layers to get to Leonard's dark core, it's hard not to see this childhood trauma as a seminal event in his life. And it helps explain, if not excuse, the savage behavior towards Morena.
Manila, 2009.
One day, Morena found out from someone at Leonard's company that he was still married. And then another Filipina woman came to Morena's door. She said she was the mother of another of Leonard's sons, born only a few months after Morena's baby girl. Morena decided to confront him. The next time Leonard came to the apartment, Morena told him she wanted to split up. He could support the children and still see them, but they should go their own ways. Leonard was furious. He immediately assumed there was another man in the picture, and he demanded to know if he was the father of the children. Leonard became unhinged after she asked to separate. He allegedly sent her terrible, deranged text messages, entered into court records in the Philippines, fueled by his fears that she had other men. November the 6th, 2009, 11:53 a.m. God will burn you in hell, bitch prostitute. Go sell yourself with your sisters, bitch. November the 14th, 2009, 7:11 p.m. You low dog prostitute. Your sisters act like angels in front of me. They are all cheap like you. I will kill you soon, bitch. You better find a job. Your time is up. November the 15th, 2009, 10:25 p.m. Get ready to sell your handbags and shoes. You're too old to sell now, cheap price. Want to take photo in bikini, bitch? You had a good life for 5 years. Now go back and rot in the provinces with the worms. The next month, Leonard appeared to have calmed down, and he asked Morena to come to Singapore on vacation. By now, he was divorced. She was only 28 and extremely naive. She took the flight with their 2 infants, aged 1 and 2. When Morena landed, Leonard's driver took them from the airport to a serviced apartment. She was surprised not to be staying at his palatial Singapore home. Later, the driver returned to take the kids to spend time with Leonard's mother in the mansion. He fobbed Morena off, telling her that he did not want his teenage sons to meet her. Morena had little to do, and so she invited over a male friend whom she knew from her hotel internship 5 years earlier. While the friend was at the apartment, Leonard walked in.
So one day I walked in there and unannounced, opened the door, and I saw this guy there with her, and she was like dressed in shorts and t-shirt and talking with him. And then my kids were there with the nannies. Then I asked her, who's this guy? She goes, oh, this is my best friend's friend. Of course, I could read that best friend story, you know. I caught her red-handed.
Leonard, of course, admits what happened next. He starts railing at the guy to get out, filled to bursting with anger that his mistress, his possession, would even talk to another man.
I said, we're going back to Philippines. You can stay with your family, your children, but let my children with me.
Morena says Leonard threatened her.
He always threatened me and my family. You know, your family, I can do anything for them. He's very dangerous. He's very evil person. He has no heart. He's evil.
Her tourist visa for Singapore was running out, and Leonard told her to go back to the apartment in the Philippines for 8 days before returning. He seemed calmer, and she decided to go. She left her children behind with Leonard's mother. It was the worst misstep of her life. When she arrived back at the apartment, it was cleaned out. Her possessions all gone, the lease terminated, and the doors locked. The return air ticket also was cancelled.
They planned that they will stop everything. And then after that, I kept on calling him. Oh, Leonard, want to see my children. They left me like a beggar. And I sleep anywhere, sleep with my friends.
So were all your bank accounts shut down?
Yes.
So you had no money at all?
No. No money at all.
So where did you go?
I went back home.
To your parents?
Yes. But my parents not rich. My father is sick. He's sick that time. I am the eldest of the family. So how can they help me? So no one's helped me. This is my 2 children. So I need to fight for my children.
Incapacitated by grief, with no money and fighting a more powerful opponent, Morena began her long struggle to get her children back. She took any job she could to raise money for a ticket. A friend helped out. But when she got back to Singapore, standing in front of the mansion's gates, there was no reply. Back in Manila, Morena began legal proceedings against Leonard, borrowing money from a friend. A year later, a Philippines regional court ordered Leonard to return the children, and that decision was upheld by the Singapore family court. But by then, Leonard had been arrested in San Diego. His mother, in 2013, had fled Singapore to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia with the children. Morena couldn't locate them. The court orders were unenforceable. Since Leonard's arrest, Morena has been trying to find her children, presuming they were in Kuala Lumpur. What really happened to them, she never could have imagined.
San Diego, 2021.
How were you able to get the kids to the US?
Everybody came legally. You know, everybody knows, Uncle Sam knows, what I'm doing. Not to say they don't know about it.
Of course.
For them, my children, my well-being is more important than anything else. I am the star witness.
After Leonard was arrested, his mother looked after Morena's children and another infant from a different Filipina woman. When Leonard moved from prison to house arrest in San Diego over 3 years ago, he sent for his 3 infant children.
Kids want to be with me, of course. I'm super daddy, mommy, granddaddy, grand everything. My kids understand. They all know. I'm a very open book dad. I don't hide anything.
Leonard's looking after them alone in his detention. Over our late night conversations, he talked tenderly about his children and the need to get them ready for school the next day.
These little ones now, I'm here for them. I am it. I do everything myself.
So, you're a good dad in your estimation. Why not give your kids access to their mums? That's what I don't understand.
No, it's not the right time for it. And it's going to complicate them because right now the kids are steady. They're doing really good. Good grades. I'm sending them to the best schools that they could go to.
In his delusional world, Leonard has saved his children from mothers who are nothing more than craven, fallen women, not living, breathing people. He's incapable of seeing women, other than his own mother, as anything but sex objects or baby-making machines.
When you're wealthy and you got money and everybody wants a piece of cake, I call it they try to rent children to you. I don't believe in that. That's not me. This is my flesh and my blood. I'm responsible. I bring up my kids. I love my kids. I don't have babies just for fun. It's not me.
Abandoned himself as a kid, Leonard thinks he's charting a better path as a father.
I love children and, I enjoy being a parent. I enjoy doing what I do. Again, it's also my responsibility that I have to complete what I've done, bringing them to this world. The young ones, I still got a long way to go. That's why God has given me life. It's a miracle I'm alive today. I'm here to finish my mission. Besides for Uncle Sam, my kids, my life.
I asked Leonard why he'd abducted the children, and the answer lays bare the moral character of the man on whom the US Navy was dependent.
No, I did not kidnap the kids. They were all just mistresses, and my children were legally born, and they have my name, and they're Malaysian citizens. So she was the mother. Unfortunately, it's a long story short, because they were mistresses, they were fooling around. I caught them and I fired them. That's it.
The last time I spoke with Leonard, just before this podcast began to air, our relationship began to sour as I challenged him about Morena.
I mean, after all this time of talking to you, I was really shocked to see your SMSs to Morena. I mean, why did you write that stuff?
What was that?
You dog prostitute.
I don't, listen. My life before is the past. It's not the future. Whether I wrote those SMSs, those texts, whether they were mine or not, I've not seen them.
This is when you were furious when you told me that you thought she was having an affair with some man she knew from the Amara Hotel, right?
I'm not going to talk about all this. It's not important to me. They're nannies. They're the managers that took care of them. They're all there. And this is all too petty stuff. I think of the big picture right now. This is all like petty, you, me, and I'm dealing with mistresses. But
this is Leonard Francis's life story.
Yeah, but like I said, it's going to do more damage to me now in my position because the hate is going to becoming even more. What has happened? Why have you changed? Do you think, I'm such a bad guy because of what Morena said to you? Is she really getting to you? My God.
That's just part of it.
The Department of Justice doesn't give a damn about hookers, okay? I'm shocked that you're so concerned about it.
Morena worked hard in a hotel and now in a nursing home and never was a prostitute. That Leonard would claim this about the mother of his children says so much about him.
Well, they're all part of the same thing. Why did I say all those things? You're just like going on and on and on and on about all this nonsense.
I thought she worked in a hotel.
Well, everybody worked in a hotel. I am really confused by what is important to you right now. Do you want to talk about the big picture of this case, or you want to talk about my personal life and all this mistresses?
I'm also tired of this. I'm tired of it too, because I think you're a misogynist.
I'm not. I just think you're getting the wrong idea about everything. And I feel that you trying to, now turn it around and try to say, I'm the bad guy. I don't think so. You know what? You're being unreasonable, and I should have just drawn the line from the beginning. I don't want to talk about it. I don't talk about it. I'm not like that, just because I'm being so truthful and honest to you. And now you're trying to judge me.
Morena eventually married a Filipino, and moved to Sydney, where she studies and works in a nursing home, trying to raise money to find her kids. Did you decide not to have more children because of this experience?
Yeah, maybe. Because, that's why it's unfair for my husband, but he knows my husband. Maybe my husband loves me so much because he knows that I'm fighting for my 2 children and I don't have anyone else.
Until I spoke to her for this podcast, she had no idea what had happened to her kids. I know where your children are. They're with Leonard in San Diego. So they're living with him in the house there. Mm-hmm. And I think he's looking after them by himself. So I don't understand how that's able to happen, given that he's pleaded guilty, and he's a criminal who's waiting sentencing. Morena was not surprised. She has first-hand experience of how Leonard, who still controls millions of dollars, can get what he wants.
That's the money, Tom.
Have you ever heard that before?
No, I never heard that. But I have read in a newspaper the family visit him. But I never think that my children are there.
Maybe this podcast will make a difference. Perhaps the US government will ensure Morena and the other mother get access to their children. They are 13 and 14 now, an older boy and a younger girl. And she hasn't seen them for over a decade.
I think they are bigger than me.
Do you think about them every day?
Of course. It's not only think about them. I've always dreamed them every day. But whatever I saw in my dream, they're just only a little. They're still young. But, I don't know what they look like now. But every time I dream about them, they are still young. It's very sad. That's why I keep myself busy, not thinking, because I need to move on also, How can I fight for my children if I will not help myself too?
Morena has a composed way of talking about her personal tragedy. She never cried, like Marcy. But as she talked to me from her apartment in Sydney, looking down the camera of a computer, I found myself thinking that I've rarely come across someone who has suffered such a life-defining loss and is still living with the pain of not knowing.
Before, I want to end my life. I don't want to live anymore because they're my first love. They're my children, I don't want any more. I don't want to eat. I don't want to do anything, I want to ruin my life. I cried. I sleep for just 2 hours, but still, thinking of them, dreaming of them. It just, trauma. It just only, if you want to sleep, you don't want to wake up anymore. If you're dreaming about that you are happy, you want to stay in the dream and you don't want to wake up. Because after you wake up, you will remember everything. That's not a dream anymore. This is the reality. That's why I have to survive.
Coming up next on Fat Leonard.
Leonard looked at me, was immediately enraged by my comment, and he stood up and, he pounded on the table a few times with his fist. He told me, I think that, was I calling him a liar?
Not everyone was as powerless against Leonard as Morena. As his fraud deepens, a few brave whistleblowers move to take him on. Soon, Leonard will be backed into a corner and lashing out to survive. Fat Leonard is a production of Project Brazen in partnership with PRX. For Audiation, the executive producer is Sandy Smollins. Mark Lotto is the co-producer and story editor. The producer is Island Meacham. Mixing and sound design is by Matt Noble.